Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome back to another edition of Get Elevated with Gia.
Yay.
Yay. I'm in the studio with our usual crew and also Marnie Montroy from Exhale. How you doing, Marnie?
I'm doing fantastic, Gia. Thank you so much for having me on the show and this
Absolutely.
wonderful opportunity. Very, very, very
Thank
grateful.
you. Well, we finally got it. We've been talking for a long time, and this is the season of Game Changers in Nevada, and we've been doing a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute, we have to balance this out with this powerful female energy. And you have so much going on both in the Exhale space, but beyond that with cannabis and all the other things that you're doing. So for those of you listening for the first time, this is a show about cannabis. We talk about all things truth and clarity. The goal, the ethos. That's a word I'm playing with lately.
Okay.
Ethos.
And
yeah.
can you please give me the definition of that?
Yeah, it's kind of like the feeling, the vibe.
Love
the
that.
purpose of the show.
I
like
love that.
what it's all about is its ethos. That's my definition.
Okay.
I
like it.
Yeah, but it's about expanding the knowledge of cannabis, and that I would love to have global access, awareness, and education of this plant. People just learn about it, try it, and then maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but don't judge it until you've tried it.
Absolutely.
At least 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 times.
That's right. Because the first time could go a little weird.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
You hear those stories of my first time.
Well, yeah, I'll be asking about yours in a second, so
Okay,
perfect timing. So this is a show about game changers, Marnie. And so I'd like to start out with a little bit about yourself. So tell the listeners a quick bio, like who you are, what you're up to, and then maybe why you think you're a game changer.
Wonderful.
Let's
Love
own
to.
that. Yes.
All right.
Talk
Sounds
to me.
Good. Well, I am actually originally from Michigan,
What part?
a suburb of Detroit.
Okay.
So,
nice.
you know,
8 Mile, you and Eminem.
Well, maybe.
You get that a lot. It's so played. I can't believe I even said that.
No,
but
it's totally true. Like I
Yeah.
actually, had some experiences, back home and
Okay.
was very, very lucky and
Sure.
have met and seen people perform and all of those things. So yeah, so
Oh.
just true Detroiter.
Oh, I never knew that about you. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
true Detroiter. I love Detroit. I know it's like one of those things that people think negatively always, but
No.
I came out of there.
You did, and that's pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I journeyed to Las Vegas, and when I got here, it was 2007, 2008.
Okay. Why Las Vegas though, Marnie?
Because honestly, I didn't know Las Vegas was going to be part of that 2008 market crash.
Oh.
And so I moved out here to get away from what was going on in Michigan, and it
Oh,
ended
snap.
up being a duo
Okay.
thing between both cities.
Okay.
So got out here, married for some years,
Okay.
and that's kind of where my venture started.
Okay.
I got the smoke
You're
shop.
so pretty, Marnie.
thank you.
I
You are
just-
too.
You get this golden locks and this beautiful jewelry. I'm over here in my cashies
Oh,
clothes,
no,
but
you're
you
gorgeous.
look fabulous.
Yeah, no, you're actually captivating. So
Wow. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I accept.
yeah, you should, as you
Thank
should.
you.
Yeah. So I ended up opening up a smoke shop. It's kind of like
Okay.
where obviously I had smoked cannabis and used cannabis, but where
Okay.
my interest in CBD came along is when I had my smoke shop.
Okay.
Um,
Why a smoke shop though? What was the genesis of that?
It was actually just a suggestion. There was a few different businesses I looked into.
Okay.
I actually was going to maybe open a Boost Mobile. I was just looking
A
to
what?
a Boost Mobile phone.
Oh,
yeah, I almost
oh.
did that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would never be here with you right now,
Right.
believe it or
Thank
not.
God.
Yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
God I didn't do that. It would have been totally
Yeah.
terrible, but maybe. But I ended up opening that smoke shop. And while I was on that journey, went to a Champs trade show.
Ah.
Now, prior to this, in 2011, I had gotten in a really bad accident, and I've had multiple surgeries. And in my neck, I actually have I had a fusion, and I have level 4, 5, and 6 that are plastic, and
Oh
I have a
my
plastic
goodness.
plate with nuts and bolts in my neck.
So that sounds like very life-threatening.
It was a very life-threatening
Oh my
accident. It almost
gosh.
killed me 2 times over. I had facial surgery, rebuilding of my face.
No way.
yeah, it
When was this, Marnie?
2011, I got in a personal injury.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was terrible. But one of the things I just kept telling myself is because they were just pumping me with medication, and
Sure.
and I was actually homebound. I could barely go anywhere but to the doctor for like years. It was
Oh
it was
my
a thing,
gosh.
So just
Of
surgery after
course.
surgery, and then I finally just made the decision to have the neck fusion because I had a headache for 2.5 years, and I
my
just couldn't live
gosh.
with it. So you can imagine working up to this point, it can make someone understand why I was so dramatic with taking the cigarettes out of my store. I went to the trade show, and I ran into a company called Green Roads, which is now one of the
Okay.
top 5
No
CBD
way.
companies
Okay.
in the country. I think in the world too.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and they were serving this. They had the paper cup. They were kind of doing the whole like lean thing. So I kind of was
Okay.
offended by it when I was walking by
Oh.
because of all the medication I was being pumped with. And I said to the
Yeah.
guy, I go, you probably shouldn't do that because there's an epidemic going on right now. And he's like, no, this is CBD. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of it.
Okay.
And I said, oh my God, what
Right.
is that?
We think like we've always known about CBD, but yeah.
No,
Wow.
I knew about weed. I knew about marijuana, but no one
Right.
ever was talking about CBD, you know,
Okay.
what that was and everything. So I had tried it. Now you have to imagine, like I said, I was on a lot of medication. So I was pill chasing, because I would have to not want to be in pain. And when I went to Champs Trade Show, it was the first time, because it was some odd years later.
Okay.
It was now 2015 or
Okay.
16, I believe at the time. I wore a little bit of a pump.
Okay.
And so I knew like, oh, I'm going to be in pain. Well, I drank that drink.
Yeah.
And literally this is what changed everything for me.
Oh, wow.
I drank it and I realized a few hours later that I hadn't taken my pain pill.
No way.
Honest to God.
What was in the drink? It was.
It was actually Green Road's syrup. It was their I think it was like
Wow.
100 milligrams or something.
Okay.
And they had put some in some Sprite.
Sure. Wow.
And I was just
That
fascinated by
much
it.
pain relief?
It was a lot. It was a lot. They poured a nice glass for me because I told them what I
Sure.
was going through.
Wow.
Mhm.
What'd these shoes look like? Were they pretty hot? Were they?
No, they were cute.
They
But
were
they,
just-
yeah, but they were just a little sponge heel too.
Right, right,
Something
right.
that it was really basic and easy
Yeah.
to walk in, but I was still terrified of the pain that I was
Sure.
going to feel from it.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah, so I had to be really careful because
Because I know you're a stylish woman. You put style way up front there.
I try.
I love that. So you're just walking past a booth, drink some CBD juice, and then you're like, "Oh
I
my
was
gosh!"
like, wow, this is a game. This was a game changer for
Wow.
me,
Wow.
and it made me become
Pun
a
intended. Game changer. Game changing.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yep.
Okay.
So at this point, I knew that I needed to find out. So I called them and I said, I want to distribute your product. Like it worked for me.
Wow.
I
So you had the smoke shop. Okay. And you went on to find the CBD. Okay.
Yes, and I wanted to put it in the smoke shop. I
Right.
wanted to sell it
Right.
because I thought this is amazing and I wanted to use it.
Wow.
So they told me that it was kind of ironic because where I had bought a lot of my supplies for my smoke shop, they were the ones that became the large distribution, the master
wow.
distribution
Okay.
for Green Roads
No,
in the country
wow.
here right in Las Vegas.
Of
And they
course.
met them at the same trade show.
Of course.
So that's how Green Roads got extremely popular by being
Okay.
pushed out to the entire country.
Okay.
But
I've heard of that brand now that you're saying it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up putting it in my store,
Okay.
and I just literally just one night I just woke up and I'm like, you know what? I'm taking the cigarettes out. I felt like I was gonna hurt people with cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I knew that CBD was like saving me,
Sure.
and I thought I want to save people,
Wow.
and so I'm just gonna do whatever I can because I was starting to take less medicine.
Wow.
you
Just
know?
from CBD.
Oh yeah,
I
100%.
think people underestimate the power of CBD.
That's one of the reasons I'm so grateful when I get to
Okay.
express, my
Yeah.
story because
Wow.
it's really impactful. Because at that store was where I seen a lot of game-changing
Sure.
moments in my life.
You know what I want to say is there's a lot of people that come on the show that have come from a medical illness. And what, like, the guy who owns Wing King,
Yes, I heard about that.
Brian Peace. Yeah, he had a whole brain trauma that he weaned himself off and went from like X amount of seizures to like nothing, and so many pain stories. So I love hearing this was just CBD, which I'm
Yeah.
sure then when you brought the THC, and I want to hear how.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Well, I was definitely smoking weed with it and everything,
Yeah.
but just really trying. I mean, I was fascinated that there was gummies,
Sure.
and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I just wanted to show people,
Of
and I wanted to
course.
tell people about it.
So you were like a bud tender at your smoke shop.
I was,
Because people don't. If you were just finding out about it,
I was.
you had to like full on sell it.
I did. And so I would
Wow.
literally have an iPad and then I would have a TV playing
Okay.
YouTube videos about it. I would keep
Wow.
Viceland on there. This
Sure.
is 2015,
Yes, Vice- yes,
16.
yes.
And so I was just really trying to get part. I seen the culture starting.
Yeah.
And I seen what was going to happen here in Nevada.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be part of it. And I
Okay.
wanted to really just really,
Sure.
change some lives. So nonetheless, because I took the cigarettes out, my smoke shop started to fail.
Yeah.
Because everybody didn't want to buy CBD.
But they weren't part of your ethos
They
anymore.
were not part of
You
my
see?
ethos
You see?
anymore.
I was waiting
Exactly.
to use it. Perfect.
We did.
Yeah.
I love
But I
that.
get that though. Going from wanting to heal people to selling them cigarettes, which we know are carcinogenic.
It was
so,
just like
yeah.
it didn't make sense.
Okay.
It was just I couldn't do both because I thought, how am I trying to save people and then also giving them
Totally.
something that I know could hurt them.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I mean, I went through some very traumatic moments where they would come in for cigarettes and be upset and throw water bottles at me and all kinds of, so it was a thing. But I just kept going, and then eventually my store closed. I went through a divorce. And I closed the store. But because I had all these clients that would come in, I was creating a Rolodex of patients. People were getting getting driven from literally coming out of the hospital from surgery to my location, because I was the only place besides Sprouts had one CBD product in the city.
No way. So you were really a pioneer in bringing CBD to the city.
I was, and a lot of people really don't know that.
They're going to know it now, Marnie.
Yeah, they're going to know it now.
Wow.
Yeah. I even
because like when I got here in 2019, everything was everywhere. It's just like an already flooded SKUs everywhere. But you forget these little things, how they started.
Yeah.
So you were like treating people
before it was legal. So before the vote went through and CBD became legal. And I mean, you would be surprised. Like I went out and helped people that were in hospice so they could just pass comfortably. I mean, I helped dogs. They were, riddled with arthritis, and, a gentleman that had a tumor removed from his brain that stuttered every day and then came to see me, and we got him on the right regimen, and his stuttering slowed down. So I was seeing miracles happen, and that changed my life. And then I was having miracles happen amongst myself. I had got rid of gabapentin off of that, started getting off of tramadol, started to slowly wean myself off of these medications. It was a very painful process.
So if you didn't do that, you'd still, or who knows how long you would have been on those medications.
If I would have not found CBD, I really don't think I would have been able to make the decision of even getting my divorce, which was necessary at the time, So just a lot of things that helped me do, as well as help others.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Talk about game changer. Like if we didn't say anything else, like that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you went through a divorce, you lost the shop.
I did. And then I started my company, Strictly Hempin', which you got to imagine is way before the pandemic. And it was a delivery CBD company that everybody said, oh, you're crazy. That's never going to work. Like no one wants CBD delivered to them. And I just thought, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try.
You had seen enough traffic
I did.
To understand the benefit, like when you sell it.
I did.
Wow.
And then I started doing the pop-ups, which led to me. So as a result of seeing all these different things and CBD working, trying different products, I decided to make something. This is kind of how the Cooking for a Queen all came about. I decided to do iced coffee, CBD mixed, and lemonade. And then I started doing strawberry lemonade. So I would go to the pop-ups. So I did Scentsy first. And then Women Grow. And I started doing Culture and Cannabis.
Wow.
And
what year was this that you were doing all of
2016.
this? Wow, grinding. Those pop-ups are grinding.
Oh, and you can imagine I was still healing and still coming off medicine and medication. So I was battling myself with my divorce, with going through the pain, with hoping that I made the right decision, with knowing that my life was changed forever and what was I going to do, and just really trying to figure it all out. Kind of lost, but yet CBD was what was like my savior. It's what was saving me. It was what was giving me that, and that's how I started my changed my Instagram to Hemp Queen 702. And then, a good friend of mine said, you should have Vegas Hemp Queen. And then it got changed to that.
I love that. What? So, you know what? I want to stop there because I want to go into the bio, which is part of like why you're a game changer. I want to know about the first time you smoked.
Okay.
I want to know. Take me back to that story.
First time I smoked, I was with a few of my girlfriends. I remember.
How old?
Oh, God, I think I was 15.
Yeah. Bring it.
And I was scared to death because I was from a private school. And I had started.
This is back in Michigan.
Yeah. And I started a public school.
Oh,
so
that's where the weed came in.
That's where all the weed came in.
My mother was right on that Catholic school.
I mean.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was really true, though, because I was like, oh, my God, what is all this? And just at a party in the backyard. And I can picture it right now. We were standing in a circle.
Of course.
And I was scared to death. And I thought my mom's going to kill me.
Yes,
because back then.
Totally. She probably could have. Would have.
Oh, yeah. Definitely had some moments.
Those Detroit moms can hang like Chicago moms.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
My mother would just the back of the hand.
Oh, just grab the back. Well, my hair was longer, too. She just grabbed that hair.
Oh, gosh.
Get a nice grip on there.
Oh, my gosh. Aggressive. I love it. Okay.
But,
so 15, you're in the circle. Yeah, you sure did.
And then, it got passed me. I smoked it, and I just remember being really high. But the ironic thing is the girl that got me to smoke that day She is still one of my best friends. Well, actually, she's my best friend for like 30 some years, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy in Michigan. She's a nurse. She's been a
Okay.
nurse for 20 some years.
Okay.
So she's helps people in other
Shouts.
ways. So it's kind of cool, you know. And she's also someone that did neurosurgery. So she kind of walked me through everything. She was doing these surgeries at the time on the neck. So she helped me with that. But she ended up getting paranoid and wanted to go to the hospital. And I was all high and laughing and just thought it was hilarious.
Of
And like
course.
she was really like wanting to go to the hospital.
Oh,
And she's
I've
never
been
smoked weed
there.
since. And I became the pothead.
She gave up after one time.
Well, she was smoking prior to. But you know what?
in her field of work, though, she can't.
Yeah, no, she can't
can
anyway.
be subject to a drug.
Yeah. But it was funny because I feel like she just got so paranoid. But it was funny because they talked me into it,
Yeah,
telling me how
right,
cool it
right.
was.
And
And
then
then
she's
she's
the
the
one.
one. And I'm the one that went
Aw,
on. We still
I'm
talk about that.
sorry.
It was so fun.
I went to the hospital one time.
Did you?
Oh, I was dying. I was certain of it. I got, yeah.
But you were just high.
High AF, let me tell you that. They thought it was laced with something.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
that's
my heart
happened
rate,
too.
Listen, my heart rate was like 180. And I knew it. I could feel my carotid artery. You could hear it. I'm
No.
I'm
yeah.
like, this isn't normal. This is not fun. Like people tell me it's
No,
fun.
that's scary.
And I made someone drive me in my car to the hospital.
Well, that makes sense. They
was like
probably laced
midnight.
it.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't?
That
Oh, thank God.
$2,000 of drug testing later. No, I was just too high. But I took some big hits, Marnie. I went hard in the paint. I was like, let's do this.
Oh, you're
I was also
you're going hard, warrior.
I was also 47. So I was like, I got this. How hard can this be?
Yeah.
I was so mortified. I'm sure I didn't like the people I was with either. They were
It's just
colleagues.
paranoia.
I'm sure they just told everybody. I was like, you guys don't tell anybody. They're like, we won't. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, no.
But
And
anyway.
then, and then now we have, that's the kind of cool thing that I get to do at Exhale is I get
Yes.
to show them the profile.
Oh, yes.
So
So
I
you can
can
curate more of the
curate.
experience. So I want to hear more about that in a second. I
Yeah.
want to go back to 15. Did you smoke since then, or did you go like, oh, I'll come
Oh,
back
no,
to it?
I always smoked after that.
Right.
That was just
Did
a
you ever
thing.
have any like funky bad times?
I mean, I had a lot of good times.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
nothing like remarkable.
Nothing
No.
bad, just always good. I'm getting in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
Getting pulled over, having
Well-
roaches in my car. Just like,
Oh.
yeah, and it was just such a terrible thing. But,
Yeah.
and then just the stigma. I was always like the bad kid.
What was it like as a woman? Well, as
Tough.
a young girl, and people knew that you smoked because like everything
Tough.
would be more acceptable for a man.
It was
or-
tough, and it is. And my brother smoked, and no one treated him the way they treated me.
Really, we've never really talked about the that shift of paradigm. Is like if it's a woman, you're just a bum.
Yeah, you're a bum. I was a burnout. That you know.
Burnout!
Yeah,
Oh my God,
burnout.
I forgot
Is that
that
the
word.
because I was a cheerleader.
Bringing
I was
it
a cheerleader
back.
that smoked weed, so I was like.
Is
the
that what they
burnout
call the
cheerleader.
burnout?
Well, they call me the burnout cheerleader. The burnout
Was
was the ones with the they had the Calvin Kleins with the comb in the pocket, and the
Oh my
the.
gosh, Marnie.
Yeah, you remember?
Well, you're bringing back, like, I think I suppress this in my deep psyche to avoid psychological wounding, but
So
let's
funny.
deal with it.
Let's deal with it.
Let's
'cause
deal
we're
with
both,
it.
We're a little bit close to age,
The
so-
burnouts. I have not used that word in 35, 40 years.
Yeah, I know. No, I agree.
Okay, so you
100%.
were labeled as such.
Well, I was like what you would call a jock
Yeah,
back
no,
then.
I got
so
the- hey,
because
that
I
term's
was the
still around.
cheerleader,
Yes.
but that
Yes.
was like the burnout cheerleader. So all the burnouts were like, "Oh, she's the coolest cheerleader." They would come to the games to watch me because I was the cool cheerleader.
So really, what was a burnout?
Burnouts just were the ones that were outside in the little yard.
Yeah.
And they were smoking
It
cigarettes.
was. It had to do with the smoking thing,
Cigarettes.
right? Okay, I forgot.
and then they just labeled it because it was weed, and it was just a silly thing. Because and honestly, all the jocks were smoking more weed than the burnouts were, really.
Of course.
So, yeah.
That's not fun being labeled that.
No, it was not. That's why I'm so grateful just for the way my life is now because I can celebrate and, have a credible position in society
Yeah.
and still be someone that uses cannabis and THC.
Isn't it cool now to be proud as a woman?
Yes.
And a woman in cannabis. Talking about being a woman in cannabis and the stigma, which I think is actually very relevant, because when I first came in the industry, like I was working in Illinois, and not a lot of it was new there, and it was such a Midwest, sort of mentality.
sure.
And I remember, to have a vape, and I was still learning myself. And I went to my friend's Italian wedding, meaning like it was like every song from
strict
Moonstruck
Italian, yeah.
was on there, and it was all the Italian cookie. It was
Love
it
that.
was awesome.
That sounds so
But I'm at the
delicious.
table. I'm like, hey, anybody want to hit this vape?
Oh,
And they looked at me like,
loser.
who brought the pothead? I was like, what are y'all looking at me like that? Because that would be weird not to offer it here. Right? Because
Right.
it's part of my
The
life
culture,
now.
it is.
But and I didn't really care what they thought. I think because of my age where
Yeah.
I'm at, like, in fact, please make fun of me.
No, please.
Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all day.
Yeah. So when did that shift for you? Where you shifted from maybe that, old childhood stigma to like being proud about, and maybe talk about your journey to exhale now in your current role there.
Okay. I would say that when I started Strictly Hempin' and
Yeah.
delivering it.
Strictly Hempin'.
Strictly Hempin'.
Did that have a song to it?
No, but they were really good. Like
a jingle?
You had the Stoner Robs of the world that would
Stoner
just
Rob.
Strictly Hempin'.
Yeah.
They're in the
gosh.
house. So yeah, it was a great name.
Shout out Stoner Rob. Love him.
Shout out Stoner
He's
Rob.
been on the
You're great.
show.
Yeah,
he's coming back.
you're wonderful.
Yeah.
Love you. Yeah. So doing that started to. I was able to, to call my mother and say, listen, what I've done,
Yeah.
Last night I helped this gentleman, pass, more comfortably.
Wow.
Something
pretty
terrible.
big.
It was
Yeah.
big. Tell her, just all the fantastic shows that I'm doing and things like that. I think because she was the one that held that stigma on me so hard
Yeah.
that I really, like you said, I didn't really care as much as what everybody else think. Maybe her friends a little bit, only because she cared what her friends thought so much.
You know what? My mother to this day still.
So does mine.
Yeah, and I don't think that she's out there bragging about the work that I do, but she's bragging about me, so I
There you
love her
go.
and all as well. But I do see the eggshells that, especially if I go to her home in Indiana
Yeah.
to visit her. She's
I'm
out.
sure.
She's out 2 hours from Chicago in Indiana,
Oh, okay.
and like I'll be like, anybody want some edibles? And she's like, I'm like,
So
I don't
fun.
know, I'm about to go about my night right here,
Right.
and
Just about to do my thing.
and you can tell people have a curiosity, and then there's the older generation who, when someone calls it pot,
Right.
their generation.
And that they
Because
also
I never
felt
call
the
it pot.
stigma. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But you could tell
Absolutely.
that they want to jump in, but they don't, because people are upside down as what's right, what's wrong.
Right.
And then mostly people in her generation, they listen to the doctors completely.
No, they do.
With
And
their pills
the
and
news
their pills.
and the doctors.
That's right.
That's it.
Oh my God, the news
I
and
mean,
the doctors.
who am I to the news and the doctors?
Yeah,
I'm
right,
just
right.
the daughter.
That's right.
Just kidding.
I
I'm
just
kidding.
saved my own life, but
Yeah,
hey.
it's okay. It has saved a few of your friends, by the way. No.
Aw.
But the good part is that I felt like even after the company, and then I got the popcorn out into the Inyo, and I had it in Exhale, and that's kind of how Exhale came along, because doing the
Okay.
pop-ups is what brought me to Brett Raymer. Filming my show Cooking for a Queen.
Yep.
Because Cooking for a Queen, it was pandemic. They said I had wrote the show a month before the pandemic started.
Okay.
So I'm the one creator of it.
Okay.
And really didn't tell anybody about it. Just started the page. It was just something I was going to just post pictures of chefs. I didn't know exactly where I was going with it yet, because I knew
Yeah.
I wanted to do a show.
Wait, were you at Exhale yet?
I was not.
Okay,
Oh,
so
no.
you went from straight hempin'
Strictly
to
Hempin'. So I still had Strictly Hempin'.
Wait,
but
what did I say? Straight hempin'. I kind of like that too.
It's cute.
Let's
Yeah,
go with mine.
I like it. But nonetheless, I ended up, the popcorn is, I latched onto the popcorn as
Okay.
a product, which
Okay.
was High Five popcorn prior to it becoming Strictly Hempin' popcorn.
Okay.
And I thought,
why did you latch onto that?
because it matched with the lemonade. So I did the pop-up with the lemonade and the popcorn.
sense.
And
Makes sense.
give them as each. So now I'm teaching you how to drink cannabis,
And how to-
I'm teaching you how to eat
Yeah.
cannabis. And that's like my main, for me,
That is
it's
your
my
thing.
main thing, is that I feel like I can touch the world and get to the people with the stigma, the old, the young, the new, the people that don't know anything about cannabis, and teach them through the show.
Yeah.
And that's what I got. And I got very, very lucky and fortunate when I got a phone call, because I was doing their shows Paint Elevated
Okay.
at the Swag House Studios,
Okay.
because Melinda Sue is my friend.
Marnie, give us more backstory about the show, and
Okay.
tell us about the show, and then back into all the creation and production
Got
of
it.
it. Yeah.
So the show features me, and I have brought chefs from the industry that were very good, and I actually had 2 from Cooked with Cannabis Netflix on my show.
No way.
Yeah, Chef Derek Upton and Chef
Okay.
Kenna Chase.
Do you know Chef Travis? He's kind of
Maybe I don't know.
No. Okay.
Maybe
There's
not.
probably a lot more cannabis chefs
There's so
showing
many
up now.
Oh,
yes.
there's a lot. Chef Garza was on my show, and so was
Okay.
the Blaze Chef.
I know Chef Garza. Okay.
Yep, and
yeah.
the Blaze Chef too.
Okay.
Yeah, she's great. So with that being said, I was the host, and my goal was to teach as I'm talking and interacting with the chef. They're cooking for the queen, and that's where that comes, Hemp Queen, Vegas
Yep.
Hemp Queen.
Yep.
And that's how that plays into it. So that was really fun, because I get to talk about the history of the plant while
Yep.
they're cooking for me. I get to talk about their lives, their
Sure.
background, like you
Sure.
said, their experience with cannabis, and just how it can benefit people, and just really teach them how it works.
Well, let's talk more about the show then.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the ethos?
The
Let's
ethos of the
keep going
show
back to that.
really
Yeah.
is that we're in the entertainment and food capital of the world
Yes,
here in Las
facts.
Vegas. And I do feel like it's going to get to the point where we've got restaurants and lounges and things. It will
Yeah.
get there. It will get there. And I just feel like just teaching people about how to use cannabis besides smoking, because there's such a stigma on the smoking
There
part.
really is, yeah.
So I spend a lot of time trying to teach people how to infuse their own food or their drinks, or
Can
how to
you
use things.
share a little bit about how people can do that
Sure.
now?
Yeah, I actually I have a recipe.
And you're self-taught, I'm guessing. You
I-
just taught
I
yourself.
am.
Yeah.
And these wonderful chefs teach me.
Yeah.
you
Okay,
know?
right. Sure.
Yeah. And they cook some delicious meals, but I also cook and do the drinks myself.
So I'd like to know some tips on cooking and mixing drinks. And I know you've done some fun stuff with cans.
Yes.
So maybe can you share a little bit for the listeners and they can get some teasers for your show?
Absolutely. So I did a video with Canon. I used the blood orange with some orange juice, and I did a little tequila, shook it up a little bit, and made a
Okay.
nice cocktail, which is really good. But Canon's delicious by itself.
Yes.
I love it because the terpenes in it
Go
are
ahead,
so good.
go
it's
ahead.
delicious.
Yes.
I won't sell it though. But
You can. I'm
yeah,
mad
but
about
it
it.
is really good. No, it's delicious. But I enjoy doing these little videos, getting those out. Just at work now, I'm able to I do cases. I have one that's with cooking
Okay.
at the moment. And I also have recipes coming out every month in Vegas Cannabis Magazine.
Okay.
So as far as a little recipe I like to tell you about is the one that I have in the magazine coming
Please.
up. And it's lemon pepper honey chicken wings.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you can actually infuse your own seasoning,
Okay.
or you can buy. Now there is seasoning out there
Yes.
with THC in it.
Yes.
So I wrote a recipe that I used infused ghee butter, infused
Okay.
honey.
Okay.
I-
How do you infuse that? What do you?
Well, you can use the weed. You have to just decarboxylation is the key.
You do that at home?
Well,
by
you
yours-
can. You can make simple syrup.
How do you
or-
decarboxylate weed at home? Can you tell people what decarboxylation is?
Decarboxylation is where you're taking the weed and activating it by heating it up, so that it can be get you
Psychoactive.
high,
Yep.
psychoactive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's basically what decarboxylation. That great word, decarboxylation.
That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So that's something that I go into on my show. If you
Okay.
tap the link in my bio, you can learn all about decarboxylation. You can also see a live resin press that Chef Derek Upton did with me on the show. You can sprinkle it on.
Okay.
You can drizzle CBD tinctures on your
Sure,
vegetables. I mean,
sure.
there's so many different ways. You can put it in your coffee. You can use a tincture. You can use
What's your favorite cannabis recipe?
favorite cannabis recipe.
And do you always use THC or you said no? It's both CBD as well.
Favorite cannabis recipe? Well, honestly, since I tried those honey wings,
Yeah.
yeah, they're really good.
Wow.
Yeah, something just really different. But I've had a lot of different food, like the red snapper that
Okay.
Chef Derek made for me was really great.
Okay.
And then Chef Canna Chase did some ribs that were really good. And
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So let's take the wings for example. Did you feel high at like?
oh yeah, okay, so
Yeah, because it's interesting to think about the consumption of food in bits and bits and bits over the course of a meal and like how to dose. I mean, can you just talk a little bit more about that, and then
of course.
then people can always find more information on your show.
Wait, for instance, because I'll use a steak as an example, like
Okay.
with the ghee butter.
Okay.
If you put your steak in the pan,
Yep.
get it cooking. You want to put the ghee butter in, so you can.
Yes.
That alone can marinate,
Yeah.
but you can make ghee butter by decarboxylating your weed,
Yes.
cooking it, and putting it into butter. And
Yes.
making butter, infusing it.
That would be my love, because I love butter and I love weed. So
It's
butter
so
weed.
good. And you can
would be
never have enough butter.
delicious.
Yeah.
But how do you make sure you don't overdose on this and get not overdose?
Well,
Let me
that's-
clarify. Just take too much and then you're like, oh, those ribs were great, but now I'm high as.
Well,
Cuckoo.
you want to make sure that before you actually cook, that you already know what the dosage is that you're
Right.
using.
I always get it feels so complicated, Marnie.
It's not. It's very easy.
Like to me, it's like, I'd
Yeah.
rather smoke than eat than smoke again.
Well, that's why you have to just give it a
You're
try.
helping.
You have to give
Yeah.
it a try. You have to just take the chance and just eat a little bit.
Yes.
Wait a few, see how you feel.
Yes.
Don't go and engorge on the whole thing.
Yes.
And just really try to dose yourself,
Yes.
accordingly. So
'Cause
if
I mean,
have
I'm a 10 milligram edible person.
Well, if
so
I
you
have
got to micro
So if I
everything.
have a jar of ghee butter that's 100 milligrams
Yeah.
and I
I
put
mean,
a
I
10
get it.
milligram, you can still dose yourself accordingly.
Yeah.
That's kind of why if you're going to do things at home, like homemade ghee butter and all of that,
Yes.
then that's where you're going to have to just really be careful with what you make and how you're dosing
Yes.
yourself.
Have
Just
you ever
never overdose.
just eaten too many wings? And
Absolutely. I've been totally high out of my mind. Yes. And just nod it off. Yes.
I love it. Well, does it metabolize differently than it would? It's going to go through the liver and it's going to get
Exactly.
what is it, hydroxy 11.
Yes.
So then it's going to be more intense.
It
and
is.
last
It's more
longer.
intense. And too, like I notice when I give it to my dog too, I do every now and then. I'll give her a little THC. And
Well, I have a question about that because I've heard that THC is bad for dogs, or like I don't.
I mean, you should probably,
they have an endocannabinoid system, so I mean, a little can probably
just
be
not a
very
lot. But if you give your dog too much, then because it feels different for them. So that's what I was going to talk about. So
Okay.
humans, it goes through us a certain way, and we can get it high from it. But just I guess it's like if your dog eats some brownie on the floor, it could get a little messy because they get really high off of a little bit. So you got to be careful. So I just suggest doing CBD like 1-to-1
Yes.
with the THC.
Of course, a little
So
balance there.
I give her little pieces of 1-to-1 gummies.
I love that.
Yeah.
Does that help her sleep?
Well, it does because she's older and she's a little dog, and I don't want her to have a lot of health issues. So she's got to get her sleep and her rest so she don't get arthritis. And I massage her little legs and stuff.
Stop.
I swear she's a doll.
I love that.
She's like CBD. No.
My little puppy has a cataract. He's 1.
Oh no.
And I'm thinking like,
CBD. Just try.
well, yeah, I have a salmon one. He hates it. Like he sees he hears the twist of the dropper and he's like, what?
Yeah.
But I choke it. It's a bad process for us. Like I got to get from behind. I got to open the jaw, shove the dropper in.
It's a lot. And then they hate it after that.
But what I really love is like 30 minutes later, he's like,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love to see my baby just relaxing,
I love that.
It's fun too. Just a friend of mine recently that doesn't use THC.
Okay.
I gave them a gummy.
Okay.
And it was just so funny to see because like 50 minutes later, they were just like.
How much did you give?
Just a 10 milligram.
Okay. But 10 is a lot for someone
But I
who
didn't
doesn't-
realize it.
Marnie,
Like I did, but I didn't.
You got to
but it was
lower
so
that
funny.
threshold. You got to go 2.5 for the newbies, especially.
I was like 5 milligrams.
You
come on,
gave it 10.
I gave 10 and they were nodded out. And I just thought it was so funny. I'm sorry.
Well, it's better. I mean, did they wake up like
they
unhappy
loved
with
it.
you?
Oh, no, they loved it. And they wanted me to get them a whole bag of gummies.
Wow. I gave a recommendation to do 10 once before I really got into the business. I'm like, ooh, I've been messing people up with that 10.
Yeah, that 10
That's why nobody calls back. Like, hey, that was great. I'm like, how was it? They're like, this lady's like, well, I gave it to her and her husband. I'm like, date night.
There you go.
She's like, we felt like we were in the ocean. I'm like,
good. This could be
yeah,
good.
yeah.
for-
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
She's like, we didn't want to be in the ocean. I'm like, well,
Then you got to take
hey,
CBD
hey,
gummies.
lean in.
Lean
You're in
in a
the
little
ocean.
bit.
Jump
Enjoy,
in.
right? Just meditate.
Get
if
naked.
anything,
Jump in the
right.
ocean.
They say it can enhance your sexual experiences,
100%. We
Yeah.
did a show on that Valentine's year.
Oh, nice.
Valentine's Day last year.
Yeah.
But I'd be all about sharing any more advice that you have around that for people who are
I just
looking.
feel like a good sativa, just give some with some caryophyllene in it for body.
Well, that's the difference is people tend to go to indica. And then that's too sleepy
And that's
times.
the thing, they sleepy time. So
Yeah.
when people come into the store, because they do, and they'll say,
Do they
I
ask?
need something because, my wife
Intimacy,
needs
yeah.
it, or my
Oh,
husband
wow.
needs it, or I need it, or, I'm in Vegas for the weekend. I just need something to pick me up and give me
Yeah.
a little bit of stimulation.
Sure.
And I just always find a good sativa with a CB that matches your CB2 receptors for your body.
Sure.
Because it's your body that you want to stimulate. So
That's right.
just, not something too heavy on like some terpenylene or something, because then your
Oh.
mind might be thinking too much during it. Or limonene.
Let's write a book
Right,
at
but
the
just-
same time.
Yeah, there you go. But something nice and
What's a strain that you might recommend for intimacy?
GG4.
Oh, Gorilla Glue.
GG4, go figure.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What are the terpenes in there?
Well, there's some
Usually.
limonene and
Nice.
caryophyllene, but that limonene and caryophyllene mix
Those are
is very
nice.
stimulating.
Nice.
Very,
Okay.
and
But
very
not-
body, because it stimulates my brain and then it gives my body a nice buzz.
I
Where,
love that.
the feelings get a more sensual feeling.
I love your knowledge and wisdom.
Oh, thank you.
It's just
I
taught
appreciate
over
it.
time, isn't it? Just
It
something.
is just constantly. I'm embedded in the cannabis industry. I
Mm.
have done nothing but study and learn and teach and
Yeah.
just be involved in cannabis for like the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Marnie, I have a question.
Sure.
Would you be willing to come back for part 2? Because we have
Absolutely.
we didn't get to your magazine article.
Love that.
Do you want to talk more about your cooking? What are some highlights that you want to share in the next episode to our listeners?
Well, I just want to share that, on the show, I tell a lot of people, just tap the link in my bio. If you go to my Instagram page, Marnie Montroy, you can just tap the link in the bio and watch a really great episode and just kind of get a feel for what I'm trying to do, because I will be continuing my filming.
Okay.
I'm working on that right now privately.
Okay.
And so that's something that's going to be coming out this summer that I'm
Okay.
working on. And you're the first to hear that.
Okay. Well,
So,
us and 120,000 people right now.
So, so I'm definitely going to be filming again.
Okay.
Not necessarily with the people I was filming with before.
Okay.
Maybe, but
Okay.
probably not. but I'm moving forward with the show and really excited
Wow.
and possibly on a very large streaming platform.
So we want to talk more about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Marnie, one more time for more information for yourself, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Marnie Montroy, Marnie Montroy. Also cooking for a queen, just like it sounds, but spelled out FORAQUEEN.
I love it.
And you can find me at both of those. I would love for you guys to come follow me and let's just take this journey together in the cannabis world.
I love it. Thank you, Marnie.
You're
And
welcome.
for those of you listening, thank you for listening to Get Elevated with Gia and Marnie. And we will be returned for part 2. We're going to go a little deeper into this cooking. And I want more decarboxylation talk, please.
Okay, sounds good.
So people can go home and make some ghee butter.
Yes,
right?
yes, for sure.
And I want to hear about your future dreams, your plans for
Absolutely.
cannabis and for life.
Absolutely.
And other passions. So I'm just teeing up so you can get some
Gotcha.
thoughts going.
I love
okay.
that. Leah,
Well,
thank you so much, Gia. I appreciate you.
Of course. Dear friends, as I always like to say, welcome to the future of cannabis. My name is Gia. I'll be your tour guide.